Hello, everybody. We are recording the week 1 video, which is just going to be briefly going over, again, how to use Perusall, and the week 1 readings, which are pretty brief. We've got Amanda Berry's Close Reading, and we have 3 poems for Palestine. So first things first, let's share our screen. Here, as always, is our course page. We're familiar with this by now after the introduction video. As you know, syllabus is up here, intro video is here, and this video is going to be in the week 1 folder. So first thing, I just want to make sure everyone is on the same page about Perusall. I got one submission for annotations, and it wasn't on Perusall. It was on like a PDF, which is great, and it's really good to see the engagement, but I want to do this in a social space so we can respond to each other. So in order to get to Perusall, you go right here, Books and Tools, and you click Perusall. That's going to open up this library, week 1 poems for Palestine, and open. And then once you're there, you can read through and also highlight anything you want and start a conversation. So if you highlight this, you can then enter a comment about that portion of text. And then people can respond to you in order to make sure that you guys are socially annotating, which is the goal here. Let's go back to the course page. Let's open up Close Reading by Amanda Berry. So when we are looking at texts, we are going to be using this close reading strategy all the time. Now, the prologue to this brief essay is about like why to close read, and I want you all to read that. It is, as they say, a hermeneutic key. Look for bold type font. It's always good key that you want to pay attention. And the idea is that if you close read a small part of a document, it is a key to understanding the document as a whole. This is true of every text, including this close reading essay. Okay, so we want to take copious notes. We want to discover and learn. Here are the things we want to close read about. Literal content, which is literally what's happening in the poem. It's important to make sure the poem or the story that you have an idea of actually what's going on. Second is figurative language. We should be looking for imagery. We should be looking for metaphors. We should be looking all the time, especially in poetry, for these sort of forms of language that are not just the easiest way to describe something. We should look at diction, the choice of words, how the choice of words impacts the way the text means. We should be looking at structure. So how it is literally constructed. In poetry, like this week, we're going to be looking at how the stanzas are set up. Stanzas are when you have lines and then they're broken by an extra blank line. We're going to be looking at how long the lines are, where they are cut, which bleeds into style. Style is like how it is done. Is there significant punctuation? Is there alliteration? Are there poetic devices? We have characterization. This, of course, is going to be more relevant in stories than it will be in poetry, but you can still have characterization of the speaker, which really happens here in Apologies to All the People of Palestine. This repeated, I didn't know and nobody told me, and what could I do or say anyway? That is a form of characterization of the speaker of the poem, right? We are getting into the idea of like, who is speaking the poem? It's someone who didn't know about Palestine and is trying to learn. Tone means the quality of voice. This one you definitely have experience from in high school or possibly earlier classes here at college. And finally, theme. Theme is like the big one, right? What is the broader message that is trying to be shared by the text, by the piece of writing? Okay, so we've got all those things, all 8. and we're going to try to read them in through these poems, right? That is the entire goal of your first week's discussion board, is to look at figurative language, diction, structure, style, characterization, tone, and theme. And in your discussion board, try to discuss how those things are working in these three poems. Apologies to all the people in Lebanon, Moving Toward Home, and Palestine by Rajiv Mohabir. Okay, so hopefully we're all on the same page about that. I don't want to get this video much over 5 minutes, so we're going to briefly look at these individual poems. These three poems are all poems written for Palestine, two in the 1980s, and then one this year in 2024. One thing I want to note when we're looking at all three poems together is how little has changed in the conversation, despite there being a 40-year gap between when these poems are written. I think a lot of people get the idea that this is a new conversation, but it's really not. So I think that's important. What's also important is that these are Black people who are responding to this question of Palestine. There's a long history dating back to the 60s of camaraderie between African Americans and the Palestinian liberation struggle. And that is something that is a key to understanding these texts. There's a reason why they're talking about these things. It's because it is a nice reflection of the way that Black people are treated in this country. One thing I really want to focus on is all the repetition in two of these poems. First, June Jordan repeats the phrase, "I didn't know and nobody told me, and what could I do or say anyway?" She repeats that there. That phrase is, again, when something is repeated in poetry, it's a sign that it's really important, that it's something we want to focus on, and that it's a key to unlocking the poem. Obviously, in Palestine by Rajiv Mohabir, the word Palestine is repeated over and over and over again. And they even repeat talking about repetition. So that is something that then we really want to focus on. What is the key to repeating this phrase, Palestine, this word Palestine over and over again? Is it just so we keep it in mind, so we remember that this is the most important thing to be worrying about at this moment? I don't know. That's something to think about. And finally, I want us to really think about tone throughout these three poems. Is it angry? Is it concerned? What is the overarching tone of these poems? We got a very, very loud truck in the background. I apologize. Hopefully you can still hear me. Okay. If we were in a regular classroom, I would talk about these a lot more. In future, depending on how you guys respond, and I'd love to get feedback via email about how the videos are going, because again, this is my first time teaching asynchronous online. Do you want longer videos? Do you want more in-depth reading of the text? Let me know in an email or in the comments on this YouTube video. It's up to you. Okay, I think that's all we got for this video. Stop share and stop record.